Imagine this. A lost civilization, a truly vast one, holding secrets not just in stone, but in belief. What if ancient rituals were actually the key to complex trade and political ties? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into the world of Tiwanaku. They were this incredible ancient Andean civilization. And we're going to unpack a really fascinating new discovery. A temple that kind of shifts our whole understanding of how their sacred rituals tied into these huge Andean trade and political networks. This deep dive, it's based on some brand new research. It comes from a team at Penn State and in Bolivia, led by Jose Capriles. He's an associate professor of anthropology there, and it was just published in the journal Antiquity. Right, so the Tiwanaku, you have to picture them along the southern edge of Lake Titicaca in what's now Bolivia. They were one of the earliest sort of organized cultures in the Andes, definitely predecessor to the Inca, the big names everyone knows. But the Tiwanaku themselves, well, they collapsed mysteriously around 1000 CE.
And despite leaving behind these amazing pyramids and terrace temples, there's still so much we just don't know about this really complex society. This new temple finding, though, gives us some amazing clues about them right at their peak.
That's absolutely right. Even with these, monumental structures we can see, the Tiwanaku still hold a lot of mysteries. Their influence, it was huge. It went way beyond Lake Titicaca. But scholars have argued for ages about how they controlled distant areas. Was it like direct political force or maybe something else? And this new discovery, well, it really offers some pretty compelling evidence on that front.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to get into. We'll explore how they even found this temple, its location, which is frankly quite surprising.
Yeah.
And then what its design, the artifacts, what all that tells us about how the Tiwanaku saw the cosmos, their economy, and crucially, how they got different groups to cooperate across vast, diverse regions.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So first off, the location. That's maybe one of the most striking things here. This temple complex they found, it's about 130 miles south of Tiwanaku's main ceremonial heartland. And it's sitting up on this hill that, believe it or not, researchers had basically just overlooked until now.
Wow, okay. That's amazing. A major Tiwanaku temple just hiding in plain sight. So what kept it hidden? And what made that spot so valuable once they realized it was there?
Well, it might not look like much from the surface. Maybe that's why it was missed. But strategically, it was incredibly important during the Tiwanaku period. This specific spot was basically a junction. 3 major trade routes met there. You had the fertile highlands around Titicaca to the north, then the dry Altiplano to the west, which is perfect for llama herding, and then to the east you have the really rich farming valleys of Cochabamba.
Ah, I see. So a natural meeting point, a crossroads where people, goods, probably ideas too, would all just converge. Makes sense. But still, finding it, if it was overlooked, how did the researchers actually, spot it? How did they identify it as a temple?
Yeah, it really speaks to how far archaeological tech has come. Capriles and his team, they had to get pretty creative. They started by combining different satellite images because the outlines of the structure were just so faint, really hard to see. Then they flew UAVs, drones, over the site multiple times. This gave them super high-resolution photos. And they used photogrammetry. That's a technique where you use overlapping photos to build really detailed 3D models to basically bring the subtle landscape features and the structure itself into focus.
That's fascinating, using modern tools to literally see back in time.
Yeah.
In these scans, they confirmed it was a temple. What did the structure look like?
Yes, exactly. They could see these stone alignments on the ground, clearly outlining the remains of an ancient temple. They've named it Palace Pata, which is the traditional name for that area. And it's big, really big. Think roughly the size of a city block. It's about 125 meters long and 145 meters wide. And the layout is interesting, too. 15 rectangular enclosures arranged around a main rectangular courtyard in the center.
That scale definitely suggests it was important. Did the design itself, the layout, give any clues about its purpose?
It seems like it did. Capriles mentioned that the design looks like it was intentionally aligned with the solar equinox. The time of year, the sun is directly over the equator. They even built a digital reconstruction based on all the data they gathered to kind of visualize what the temple might have looked like originally. And that really seemed to emphasize this celestial connection.
Okay, so we have a huge structure strategically placed at a trade crossroads and aligned with the cosmos. Now, this is where it really gets interesting for me. The artifacts. What did they find on the ground? What did that tell them?
Well, scattered all over the surface of the temple site, they found loads of fragments of keru cups.
Keru cups.
Yes, these are very distinctive cups, specifically used for drinking chicha. That's a traditional beer made from maize. They drink it during big agricultural feasts and celebrations. So finding those fragments, that right there was a massive clue about what went on at this temple.
The maize beer. Chicha. Okay, wait. That connects straight back to the trade routes you mentioned, doesn't it? Maize wouldn't have grown right there at that high-altitude temple site.
Exactly. That's a crucial point. Maize is a lowland crop. The fact that it was being consumed up here in large quantities, apparently, it just highlights how vital this temple was for accessing different kinds of goods, including food from far away. It physically demonstrates how this site linked different ecological zones, different ways of life, different foods. It wasn't just about worship in isolation. It was clearly tied into resource exchange.
So, okay, it's a place for religious rituals. We know that from the structure and alignment. But it's also clearly a hub for trade, for moving resources like maize around. How did the Tiwanaku manage that? How do they blend those two things, religion and economy, so effectively?
And that gets to a really, really important idea about Tiwanaku society. Capriles puts it very clearly. He suggests that most economic and political transactions had to be mediated through divinity.
Mediated through divinity.
Yes, because that would be a common language that would facilitate various individuals cooperating. Basically, for different groups, maybe speaking different languages, having different customs, to actually trust each other enough for complex trade, especially without, modern courts or contracts.
Yeah.
Religion provided that shared foundation, that common ground.
Wow. Divinity as a common language for economic cooperation.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful concept, especially thinking about societies before modern states and communication tech. Can you maybe elaborate on how that would actually work, like practically? How does a shared ritual help two different groups trade llamas for maize, for example?
Absolutely. Let's picture it. You have one community, maybe down in the Cochabamba valleys with lots of maize, another group up in the Altiplano with llamas and alpacas. They meet at a sacred site like Palaspata. They participate together in these rituals, maybe communal feasting with that chicha, making offerings. This builds a shared identity, a sense of trust. The exchange of goods, then, it isn't just a cold transaction. It gets wrapped up in this sacred meaning. It becomes part of maintaining cosmic order, something everyone believes in. So that shared belief system, that's the real contract. It makes the whole exchange network more reliable, more binding than just, a handshake deal ever could be.
Right.
It underpins the whole system.
That paints such a vivid picture. Belief systems, not just as personal things, but as actual societal infrastructure. Amazing. And what was the reaction locally? In Caracolo, where the temple was found?
Yeah. The local mayor, Justo Ventura-Gorayo, he said it was a big surprise, even for the people living right there. He mentioned that these findings at Palaspata are really significant because they shine a light on a part of their local heritage that was just completely unknown before. And he added that for their community, this is vital. It has huge potential for tourism, for showcasing the region's history. They're already working with state and national folks and taking advice from experts like Capriles to make sure the site is properly protected and preserved.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. That the discovery is being embraced and seen as valuable both culturally and, for the community's future. It really does give us a fresh look at how these complex ancient societies actually work, doesn't it?
It really does. As Capriles put it, with more insight into the past of this ancient site, we get a window into how people managed cooperation and how we can materially see evidence of political and economic control. It's a great reminder that understanding these things, it's about more than just digging up old stones. It's about figuring out how people organize themselves, how societies function.
That brings us right back to the core of this deep dive. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our look at the Palaspata Temple, and the insights are, pretty profound, I think. This one place, this single site, it really opens a window onto the Tiwanaku world. It shows this incredibly tight connection between their sacred rituals, their economy, and how they organize themselves politically. It really demonstrates how belief systems acted as that common language, the thing that made cooperation possible. It let ancient peoples manage these really complex interactions across huge regions, without all the modern systems we take for granted.
It definitely underscores that point Jose Capriles made, that there's still so much to discover that we don't know about and that could be hiding in plain sight. And this discovery, it isn't just cool for archaeologists. It's a reminder for all of us, really, to keep our eyes open, not just for literal ruins, but for understanding the kind of hidden structures shaping our own world.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to take away from this. If ancient societies like the Tiwanaku used divinity, this shared sacredness, to smooth the way for trade and political cooperation, what are our modern common languages? What are the shared beliefs or systems, maybe obvious, maybe hidden, that let us cooperate and manage complex exchanges in our crazy interconnected world today? What profound connections, what invisible influences might be hiding in plain sight within our own societies that we haven't fully grasped yet? Something to think about.